KZUC LP Edmond.
Your station, 99.3.
Celebrating 125 years of excellence at UCO.
You play the best music.
You can't get it anywhere else.
UCO's best mix.
New Central Radio.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. I'm Matt Wallen. Joined with me is the Real Deals. They're back. It's good to have the boys back.
It's good to be back.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, especially after Wednesday, and I had to do the show all by myself.
You did a great job. I liked it.
You listened. That was so kind. So kind
sweet.
of you. I know.
I didn't listen, so.
Yeah, you were off seeking job opportunities elsewhere, trying to leave me.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
My feelings are hurt. There was kind of a game this weekend, guys. Did y'all tune in?
Oh, which game? Oh, yeah.
You know, the one that brings in all the money, all the prop bets.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to look at the prop bets later, by the way, and which ones you would have taken. We know what it is now, but would you have taken it? There were a lot of them.
Yeah. I would have probably not bet that the Panthers. I don't know if this counts as a prop bet, but I would not have thought that Brandon McManus would account for most of the points offensively for the Broncos. Because you think about it, they had the defensive touchdown, and then they had the one offensive touchdown.
And then 3 field goals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so
all night long he's texting me, he should be MVP, he should be MVP. No,
that was back when they had 16 points, and it's like, hey, he has over half their points. That they didn't even have on the ballot his name. Okay? I tried to vote
kicker.
for him. He's still part of the football team.
He is a kicker.
And you know what? How many games have we seen lost or won because of kickers? Brady wouldn't have as many rings without Vinatieri, and the Bills would have a Super Bowl win.
Carolina would actually have a ring now.
Yeah, and the Bills would have a Super Bowl win if not for their kickers. So kickers are important.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
How was your weekend, though, first?
Pretty fun, actually, and I needed that with my workload. But
what'd you go do?
Let's see. Gosh, I can't think.
It was a fun weekend.
Played some video games, just kind of relaxed, watched a little bit of sports, went out, I worked Sunday morning. That was not that fun, but everything else is pretty fun. What about you, Ike?
I was officially 0 for 3 this weekend. OU losing, Thunder losing, Carolina losing. So I sulked last night, but it's all right because this week is going to be a better week, So everything's good.
It is Monday,
the weekend was good. I slept a little bit. I ate a little bit. That's pretty much it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, besides the outcome of the game and the team you picked not winning, did the Super Bowl disappoint you?
I mean, as much as I like to say I like to watch defensive play, it was kind of boring, I mean, it just wasn't fun to watch. I mean, I like defense. I really do, more than most people. But even for me, it was like, man, can we see something? Like, the most entertaining part of the game was Jonathan Stewart's leap, right, over like half the line or whatever it was into the end zone. But other than that, I mean, there weren't a whole lot of big plays. I mean, and then one of the big plays, it was the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. It was because it was a fluke. Like, they thought it was a fair catch, and they just let the guy kind of run on by. So even though it was an impressive play historically, it wasn't impressive, like, by the eye test. It was like, oh, wow, that was awesome. He didn't juke out like 10 guys. He just kind of, like, ran past guys who weren't really paying attention.
For me, I was so ready for Carolina's offense to start going. I know they don't have the best offense and everything, but I was ready for it. I was like, okay, this set, we're going to go out there and we're going to, at least score or get a field goal. But it never really happened. The momentum was never there for them. And I agree with you. It was kind of boring in a sense, but I did like, Von Miller's performance and Ware's performance and everything on the Broncos defensive side. That kind of, got me a little bit excited. So.
And on offense, I don't know how many times I was like, there's Ted Ginn, there yeah. Like there he goes, and then he had the 145-yard catch, I think it was. But other than that, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of offense in this game. The offense that we saw was, okay, Denver gets the ball at the 5-yard line or whatever and then just punches it in. But there Wasn't a lot of fireworks in this
But
one.
besides that, they'd get the ball down there and couldn't score in the red zone. Peyton Manning couldn't get the ball in the end zone.
Well, the thing with defense is you're like, okay, is that good defense or bad offense? Probably a mixture as far as last night. But, yeah, it wasn't as entertaining as I had hoped. But, I mean, I still enjoyed it. It wasn't like a bad game.
It wasn't a bad game at all. No.
At the end of the day, in my personal opinion, you asked the question, was it bad offense or bad defense? And you said possibly a mixture of both. I think Denver's defense stepped up to the challenge. I do think we have to look at it, though. We said Carolina could have the worst receiving group in the league.
Right.
But they haven't showed it. Together, they've been able to get stuff going. Olsen has been the key.
Right.
And Denver did a great job of finding their one weakness.
Right. Well, I wrote my Super Bowl recap this morning, ucentralmedia.com.
Yeah, make the plug,
check it
go
out.
ahead.
Check it out. But I talk about how this receiving core just being so depleted and really devoid of superstar talent, it came back to bite them at the worst time in the worst way. I mean, Ted Ginn, on Newton's one interception, the ball actually went through Ted Ginn's hands and it was in the red zone. And that was almost what kind of broke their back in a sense that they could have, I think it was 16-7 at that point. If they could have pulled within 2, then you got a field goal. I mean, then we got a game again. But that would just completely change the game. And one thing I noticed, I didn't put this in the article, but one thing I noticed is a lot of the time, the ball just kept bouncing Denver's way. I mean, I think the player who intercepted that fumbled it, and then there's 2 Panthers right by it, and then Danny Trevathan for the Broncos just comes flying in and just the perfect angle just scoops it in like a baby. It's just holding it. It's like, oh, Broncos got it back. So it was crazy how that happened. But, yeah, the receivers, I mean, they got to get Kelvin Benjamin back, and that'll be a big boost for them.
Okay, so I also think the thing that we hear after the game is Carolina is young. They'll be back. But the thing you got to take into account is how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl.
In any sport. I mean, to get to any championship. I mean, look, we love our NFL NBA comparisons on the show, right? What about the Thunder? People said the same thing.
Yeah.
When they got beat by the Heat 4-1, it was pretty similar to this, honestly. They're like, oh, yeah, it's unfortunate, but they'll be back. I mean, they've got all these young guys and everything. You never know what could happen. I mean, injuries come into play, free agency, trades. I mean, you never know what could happen. So it's unfortunate for Carolina, but, I mean, the outlook right now, at least in the immediate future, is pretty good.
What sort of blame do you put on the Carolina offensive line?
All of it. No, not all of it. There was a lot of penalties last night. Lots of penalties, false starts and stuff like that. And the way they just let some of those linebackers get through and get cams last night was just horrendous. It was embarrassing. Michael Orr, I mean, come on now. We got a movie after you're supposed to be watching The Blind Side, and he wasn't doing his job. But you can't blame them. They do the best that they can. But it really wasn't a great performance from their O-line last night. It really was not.
Denver had 7 sacks.
That's crazy.
Just
And
let that set in your mind.
one thing I'd really be interested in seeing, guys, is I noticed that Greg Olsen played a lot of snaps yesterday, but he only had like the 4 catches for 41 yards. I'd be curious to see how many plays he actually ran a route on and how many plays he had to stay in and block to help the offensive line.
Yeah.
Think about that. And then, of course, that has a ripple effect where, okay, Olsen's not out here. He's our most reliable receiving option. Now we got to rely on Corey Brown and Ted Ginn and all these guys instead of our most consistent guy in Olsen.
I agree with that. That Olsen probably has to stay in block, but they were keen. The Denver defense was keen off Olsen. Is someone else is going to beat us. We can stop the running game. We're going to take away the zone read. And someone else, one of these no-name receivers, is going to have to beat us.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it. Olsen fell down on one of the routes going over the middle. They threw it to a different receiver, but you saw the safety had the route already jumped.
Yeah.
And that was the game plan from Denver. How good is this Denver defense?
They're really good.
They are, because Peyton Manning is not Peyton Manning anymore.
Right.
You know what this really reminded me of is Elway. When Elway won his 2 Super Bowls, he wasn't John Elway.
Right.
It was the Denver running attack and the Denver defense that won it.
Exactly.
And that's what we saw last night in Santa Clara, and it worked for Denver.
Yeah. I mean, And you look at Manning, I mean, he played about as bad as Newton did. You know, they both had pass ratings around 56, which is awful. And, you know, it's like I said, I mean, no disrespect to Manning, but I feel like Osweiler could have just done just as well, if not better, you know, so.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Was like, could they have won the Super Bowl with Osweiler too? I think they could have. I really do.
I definitely think so. I think it was all about the defense. The offense couldn't move the ball. The only player on offense who played really well for the Broncos was Anderson.
He had 90 yards.
90 yards on what, like 21
23.
carries, 23. Yeah, so what, like little over 4 yards?
No, that's not even over. It's 3.9.
3.9.
So still not the greatest.
Not the greatest, but I mean, yeah, for me, it was all about the defense, and give credit to that unit because Wade Phillips had his guys ready to play.
Congrats to Wade Phillips. Really great job winning Assistant Coach of the Year the night before.
Think about this, though, because Wade did not have a job before the season started.
No, exactly. So
took last year off.
Yeah.
You know, how far has he come since being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
A long way, especially with some of the stud guys he has on this defense. You know, he I'm not gonna say he got lucky because I feel like he has strategies to make this defense really, really good. So, but yeah,
is this team going to be able to go on a run going forward? Keep the pieces together, because like you and I were talking about the Bears documentary came out, the ESPN 30 for 30, which I loved, and I think the '85 Bears are the greatest team of all time. Am I a little biased? Yes, I love the Chicago Bears. But if Buddy Ryan would have stayed around, they could have won more than one Super Bowl. Wade Phillips, if he stays around and they can keep the pieces, can they win more than one? They're going to lose Peyton. I don't care what you say. Peyton Manning's last game was last night. If he comes back, he is stupid, and Denver should cut him. It will save them $21.5 million in cap space.
Well, especially when they have to, I think they have to re-sign Ware, and Miller's due a big payday. Super Bowl MVP. I mean,
who is it? The backup quarterback. I'm losing my
Osweiler.
name. Osweiler's going to be a free agent as well.
Wow, they got some decisions to make. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch this offseason. It might be the most interesting thing to watch. Yeah, I think Manning should retire. I put that in my article, but we'll see.
But are they set up if he retires to continue and repeat next year?
I don't think they'll repeat next year. I take the field just because I know
how tough it is.
I know how tough it is, and then I think just like Carolina's receiving core came back to bite them, next year at some point, who's to say Denver's ineptitude on offense is going to come back to bite them? I mean,
but you're going to have a different quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, Osweiler is still not a star, so who's to say Osweiler doesn't have a game like Manning had last night where he throws a pick six? Manning didn't throw a pick six, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if Osweiler in a playoff game fumbles or throws a pick six or something, it could change the tide of the whole game. So what I'm saying is, if there's the perfect storm, they could fall, because of the offensive ineptitude. So I think that they'll be a contender, but I don't think they'll
Mike, what do you think?
Contender because of defense, but offensively they're still not superior. You know what I mean? They're not. I don't think they can beat other teams by a large margin in points. You know what I mean? They're going to have to rely.
They did this year.
Well,
and look how well it worked out. But think about it. Brady's getting older. Who is going to challenge them in the AFC?
Well, in their division, the Chiefs are pretty good, and they're returning everybody. Plus, they're getting Jamal Charles back. I was going to say
it's
that.
Alex Smith.
It's Alex Smith, but, it's Brock Osweiler. Yeah. So it's not much better.
Brock did beat New England. Give the man credit.
I'll give the man credit, but I just, on a full 17-game schedule, I just don't know. Here's the thing. The Patriots are going to be good for another year at least. They'll be in the playoffs next year. And honestly, the thing we have to remember with the Denver Broncos, a big reason they made it to the Super Bowl this year is because they got that number one seed. Because people had to go through Denver. Honestly, I feel like if that game had been at Foxborough, the AFC Championship, the Patriots would be in the Super Bowl. Do you guys agree with that?
No.
Really?
Personally, only because I think the Denver defense was on top of its game.
Yeah, it came down. It was close, though, right?
It was close, but at the end, I think the Denver defense is what won them this Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It did it all season long. We saw it again and again. The defense would make a stop. The defense would score. And I I think it was poetic justice that the defense did score in the Super Bowl because it's what happened all season long for this Denver football team.
Yeah, I just feel like, bottom line for me, in the division, I think the Chiefs will give them a lot of trouble. I can see the Chiefs winning the division, and I don't see this team winning a Super Bowl as a wild card, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's why this quarterback. So that's what I'm saying. I think the home field advantage helped them a lot. I don't think it's the only reason, but I think it helped them a lot. I don't see them always having that advantage, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. I see what you guys are saying. We'll take a quick break, then we'll be back. Talk about the Cam controversy that happened last night. Should he have fallen for the punt? We'll discuss that more after the break. You're listening to the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. And we're back to the Matt Wallen Show. It is 12:20, and you're listening to 99.3 U Central Radio. Guys, there was a little bit of Cam controversy last night. You know, it came down to the very end fourth quarter. Didn't dive on a fumble. Just the way he conducted himself, the stature, he didn't act like a man, is what were some of the comments made. Thoughts?
Well, I think that's a little unfair, and if I'll give Cam the benefit of the doubt, I'll bet the person who's most hard on Cam right now is Cam. You know, I'll bet he thought, man, why didn't I just jump on that? Looking at the play, I was puzzled, but then I saw the replay, and the only thing I can imagine is maybe he thought his teammate, I don't remember who it was he thought he had it, and then just kind of squirted out of there, and he's like, oh man, I should have jumped on it. But I think either way, it's the Super Bowl, man. You gotta lay out and try to get that thing back.
Yeah, you got to kind of break your neck in a game like this, in a situation like that too, at the end of the game. But I do feel like really bad for him, and I know, like you said, he probably is beating himself up for it. And the whole walkout of the interview thing, I mean, that's just how some players react. I'd rather them walk instead of saying something detrimental to their, reputation in that sense. So
I know it's a tough situation to be put into, but there was already some controversy there to begin with. You know, is he for real or not? Or is it just a show? Is it fake and all that? And I thought CBS, before did an interview with him, I thought it was a very good interview. I thought he was genuine, and I think he is just having fun. He's being himself there. I think he took a step back, though, last night, for being honest. He kind of reverted to his first couple seasons in the league when it wasn't going well.
Right.
He couldn't own up. I'm trying to think of the word to say, because it's not all his fault. Mm-hmm. The offensive line gave up 7 sacks. He had a rough night. It's just tough that the rough night he had, or the one rough game he had all season, is the biggest one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And some people might try to say, oh, well, Cam can't handle the big stage. And I don't think that's fair because, the NFC Championship was a big stage. The National Championship in college, that was a big stage. He's used to being in those big moments. I think it's just like you said, it was an X's and O's thing. Which brings me to the point, guys, of how much blame do we put on Ron Rivera, because it looked really, especially in the early parts of the game, that maybe they just weren't ready to play. They were dropping passes like we talked about that they had made all year.
No, you can't sit here and tell me it's on Ron Rivera for
I'm not saying it's all on him.
No. Listen to me. You're paying them money. This is the Super Bowl, and you're not ready to play. I'm not buying that for 1 second.
Yeah, well, as far as who looked sharper, though, the Broncos looked sharp. The Panthers did not look sharp at all.
This isn't like you're playing Oakland. You're not playing Tampa Bay. Who was the worst team? Cleveland. Dallas.
You had to throw Dallas in there?
I had to. I'm sorry.
Injuries, man. Oh,
injuries.
The injuries.
Injuries.
We're getting off track.
Okay.
Well, what I'm saying is, it is an interesting thing to think about is, I wonder who... Sometimes in sports, I know the professionals, they make millions of dollars, but you have to be able to motivate guys too. And maybe it wasn't on the coaching staff. Maybe it was on a lack of leadership in the Panthers locker room, because I picked the Panthers early in the week. I heard a story, you guys probably heard it too, of DeMarcus Ware and Peyton Manning giving a really just emotional, tearful pregame speech on Saturday about the Super Bowl. And it just made me think, wow. At that moment, I was like, man, I picked the Panthers. I don't know. I feel like the Broncos, I don't want to say they want it more, but maybe it's just like they know not to take it for granted because, like we've said, this Panthers team is really young and maybe a little bit full of themselves, whereas the Broncos, like Ware and Manning and other guys like Wade Phillips, this may be their only shot, and they're more cognizant of that. You see what I'm saying? So maybe it was a little bit motivation, like not that they wanted it more, but they knew they had more awareness of like the gravity of the situation they were in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying and all here. And in this, and the article I pulled was from NFL.com, and was reading through it, and it makes an interesting point. Let me figure out where it was about. This is where Newton needs to grow up. He's always had a problem dealing with losing, and it showed up often, like we said, in the first two seasons. But he results in sulking. And I think that's the problem people have, is because they think back to when Peyton and the Broncos lost the last Super Bowl. And he played terrible. But he stood there and took the questions like a man. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem that they're having with Cam Newton right now.
People are different. People can take losses differently. You know, I feel Cam will eventually get over it and get ready for the next season, but at the time and place, he had a lot of stuff on his shoulders for the Panthers. You know, a lot of people were depending on him. You know, he was a one-man show that brought him all the way to the promised land, but couldn't deliver and get the championship, basically. So it was just, like I said, some people take it one way, some people can take it another way. I don't compare people's emotions because it's not right, basically.
Well, I think about how I would react in that situation. You know, it's hard to put yourself in those shoes, but I mean, you go 15-1. You go to the Super Bowl. You're 26 years old. I mean, you're playing. You win the MVP, and you want to prove to everybody that you are the real deal. You know, no pun intended on our real deal we have in studio today. But you want to prove.
I have to deal with two of them every day. Yeah.
You want to prove the doubters wrong and solidify yourself, and then to come out and play like that. I mean, it is. I understand why we do it, and I understand they get paid millions of dollars, but it's unfortunate that when you lose something that important, and like an hour later we put a camera and a microphone in your face and expect you to want to talk about it. I mean, some people are going to be able to do it, some people aren't. I think it's an interesting topic that should be discussed more. But as far as Newton, he could be a lot more professional and better leader, but maybe it'll just take time. Maybe this is a lesson for him.
I do agree with you on the professional aspect, but let's just say he went out there and he conducted an interview, normal, everything. Then people are gonna think of, does Cam care that he just lost?
I disagree with that.
I
disagree with that.
Just because the whole why didn't he fall on the ball? So why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Why did he play so bad?
Don't get me wrong. I think that play is going to haunt him for seasons to come. That is going to be brought up for the rest of his career. Because let's be honest, he didn't dive on the ball.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you could say that. People will, think of any way to down a player at this magnitude, Mm-hmm. Did he not care that he lost? Why is he, I guess he doesn't care. He's not really showing anything, but the emotion that he showed last night can, basically tell you that he's really hurting. That's what I saw.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point, because I could definitely see what Ike's saying if he just seemed like, everybody's going to say, oh, well, I mean, people have been saying for, a while. I mean, well, I don't know. We say a lot about, oh, well, he's selfish. He only cares about himself. If the people could have said, if he was just a regular interview, that oh, well, he got his MVP. He's gotten all this recognition, all these props, all these endorsement deals. That's all he really cares about, and he didn't dive on the ball. I mean, I could definitely see that happening in an alternate universe.
I think there's a difference in what you're talking about. Being upset. I understand the being upset, being distraught. I mean, it's the Super Bowl. It's the highest achievement in sports right there. But getting up and leaving just seems childish.
It does. And to kind of meet you halfway, I mean, it's possible to sit there and answer the questions and obviously show remorse and show, like, how disappointed you are. I mean, there's a middle ground there. But, yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, I said it before, I'll say it again. Sometimes in sports, you just have to have your heart broken before you can reach that mountaintop. So, I mean, we saw it with Denver 2 years ago. They got absolutely humiliated by the Seahawks, and now they're world champions. So, hopefully, if you're the Panthers and you're Ron Rivera and that coaching staff, you try to use this as a lesson, learning experience, come back stronger, and hopefully it'll galvanize your team and make you better for it in the long run.
I agree. Let's move on to a happier subject. How'd you like this halftime show? You were all about Queen Bee.
Queen Bee, she showed up. She showed out. Bruno Mars, I didn't know Bruno Mars was going to be there, but Bruno Mars showed up and he showed out. I loved it. Coldplay was awesome. I loved the
So do you like the halftime
everything.
show?
I liked it. A lot of people are like, you know, throwing flack over it. I was like, what is going on? This was awesome.
I mean, don't get
But
me...
you want to know something?
Okay, let's hear it.
I was wondering, have you guys ever seen a halftime show where it's like the sun is out? Because I was thinking that. I was like,
Yeah.
the sun is still out. Is it
It's
not
a little
going to be
weird.
like dark or anything like it usually is? And another one of my roommates was saying that too. He's like, wow, it's still bright
it's
out
on the
there.
West Coast,
But
yeah.
it's because it's on the West Coast. But it was still great. I liked it, and you know they played. They did well. So
I think at the end, Coldplay ruined it when they're walking down together and they're going back and forth. First of all, they had the dance off. I thought the dance off was pretty cool.
But you have to remember, I was and something.
Okay, but when they're going down, they're going back and forth and all this, and I'm just sitting there. Okay, the white boy just ruined this.
No, it's their show. They
I get
should have
that,
been in there. Like, 'cause
but-
for a second, I was like, wait a minute. Where's Coldplay? Because it's a lot of Beyonce and Bruno Mars for a second. Where's Coldplay at? And then they come in. It's just the way they wrapped it all back together. Coldplay comes back in a little bit, and they ended. I thought it was good. I don't know. What'd you think, Brad?
I have to admit, I actually didn't watch it. I did other stuff. So, but I heard a lot of people didn't like it, and they said it was lame and all this, and
I mean,
said it was boring. Said
do you
Bruno
like
Mars wrecked
Beyonce's
it.
outfit?
It was the same outfit as Michael Jackson.
Jackson, yeah, I know.
I thought about that. And
The
that was pretty
X,
cool.
yeah.
So
I mean, it was a
I'm
little
not
low
into
cut. I
fashion
mean,
or anything, but-
don't get me wrong.
To be honest,
understand that.
though,
She's
like,
getting a little old. You know,
to be honest,
might want to cover
every
up.
year I'm ready for the halftime show. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's see. But after the first half, I was like, man, like I'm kind of wanting to get this show on the road. I was kind of worried and stuff. And
What'd you think about her backup dancers wearing the Black Panther costumes?
Oh, were they? I didn't notice that.
No one pays attention, I guess,
was
to
looking at
this.
B.
You were looking at B the whole
Yeah,
time. You weren't even looking at it.
Most people are gonna be looking at Beyonce.
Yeah. Well, there. Okay. Fair enough. Winners and losers of the Super Bowl. Obviously, big winner would be the Broncos, and the loser would be Carolina. But who was your big winner last night?
My big winner, I mean, it has to be Peyton Manning, right?
Yeah.
He has the opportunity, the rare chance to get that storybook ending we always want to see in sports. We've seen other legendary quarterbacks like Brett Favre and whoever that their last season wasn't what we would have hoped for them. But with Manning, I mean, of course he got benched and all that, but you go out with a Super Bowl championship. I mean, what better way to? Is there a better way to do it? I don't think so. So that's my big winner.
I think it's even better than that because you said he got benched, but he found a way to come back. He was able to lock up the AFC, which you say is the only reason they got to the Super Bowl.
Right. Not the only reason, but a big reason.
Big reason they got to the Super Bowl. But for me, the winner, Budweiser. I mean, you have Peyton Manning mention it twice in his interviews. Peyton Manning, I think, is a smart businessman and is already setting up what he's going to do after football. And I do. I think he walks away from this. There'd be no reason for him to come back. Elway has basically shown him the way. Like I said, go forward, my son. I've given you the kingdom.
Yeah.
Now it's time to leave. I got to bring someone else in and groom.
I just feel like, Peyton Manning being we know what a workaholic he is when it comes to football and how he's always so busy preparing. Now that he's like not going to be playing football, I feel like we're just going to see him everywhere. Because I mean,
Is he gonna do Brett Favre do all the commercials?
I guess because I mean, no disrespect, man, but I mean, he's never seen an endorsement deal he didn't like. So
I saw a great tweet last night. Peyton Manning is to decide on this decision, is gonna go home. He's gonna get in, or he's actually gonna get in his car, which is insured by Nationwide. He's gonna go pick up some Papa John's, eat it, think about it, have a Budweiser, and just thinking over all the endorsements he could possibly fit in.
But after the pizza, he has to save some room for some chicken parm, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chicken parm, you taste so good.
My winners are Miller and Ware. I thought they played tremendous last night, both racking up. Actually, I think
Miller, it's a contract year, too.
Vaughn had 3 sacks?
2.5.
2.5, okay. And then Ware
Two
had
forced fumbles.
Yeah, but he had 2 forced fumbles, and one was big. They scored on the one.
Both of them led to touchdowns. The fumbles did.
Yeah. So those are my winners of the night, and congrats, he won MVP too, which I think he solely should. So, but yeah.
Loser for me, CBS. They made a lot of money, but they had some problems last night, some technical problems.
I saw that. Did y'all's? I think it was like a third down play. Did y'all's broadcast go out for a little bit?
No.
Oh, okay.
It did.
Okay.
It could have been. I made a mistake this year. I spent it with the girlfriend and her friends. Patton was there. Y'all know Grant,
of course,
fraternity brother. He was there and his girlfriend, but the rest were girls.
The general.
We were so outnumbered, and they like to talk during commercials.
Yeah.
And I was not about to have that, especially when the Super Bowl Babies commercial came on. I'm upset they didn't play the full 3-minute commercial. The NFL made enough money they could afford to pay for the whole thing. But
Where are you? I'm Dallas.
Dallas.
Are you?
I guess I would be Dallas, I think.
When were you born?
94 is when Dallas won it, wasn't it?
Yeah. And what year were you born? 95?
No, 94. They won it in 94, didn't they?
They won in 92, 93,
But
94.
it would, in the 94 season, or because it's going to be 9 months. See?
This is too confusing.
It is.
I'm technically...
I'm in April, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
But anyway, moving on.
Oh.
Who were y'all's losers, though?
My loser would just be, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't really felt a whole lot of the TV commercials in the past couple of years.
Did you enjoy the Pokemon one? I didn't even see it.
It was all right. I don't know. It was kind of strange. I was looking forward to it, but it was all right. I don't know. I just feel like the losers are the advertisers who spend all that money on those commercials, and some of them were just strange.
$5 million for 30 seconds.
I just wonder
CBS
if it's really
made some money last
I wonder
night.
if it's really worth it. Like the Mountain Dew one was really weird.
With the
Kickstart thing with like the weird
monkeys.
animal that was just strange.
Yeah, that was
It's
a
just
little
like,
much.
I just wonder how much you really are helping your brand. So I'm gonna say the advertisers. What about you, Ike?
We'll talk about the commercials in a little bit.
My losers were the offensive line for Carolina. That's my losers.
Yeah.
Point blank. Like, get better. Protect your quarterback at all times. So
I know you like Coldplay, but I didn't even put Coldplay on there because that was the worst thing on the stage, the least thing people wanted to see. I know you like Coldplay, and I don't have a problem with Coldplay.
did you?
No, because I like some of their music.
Yeah, they weren't that bad.
They weren't that bad, but I think they were overshadowed by having Beyonce and Bruno Mars.
They were a little bit. But can I say I said last
And I
night,
like Coldplay's music usually more than the two of them.
Yeah, I say last night I predicted that next year it will be Justin Bieber. So
Oh, we can only hope not.
no, I think it's time. I think he's mature. They gave it to Britney. They didn't give it to Justin. They gave it to Britney back in the early, I believe, 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can give it to Justin's matured. He has a great album. It's time. Give it to Justin.
Did at any point last night in that dance off, did you think who is it? Bruno was going to pull a JT on Beyonce? Only in your dreams, right?
Next question.
Next question.
Hey, what about next year a different Justin and bring back Justin Timberlake for a little redemption?
A little redemption.
Yeah, don't do no funny business this time. Just do your new songs.
Hey,
And everybody
that
likes
is
Justin
the most
Timberlake.
memorable halftime show, though.
No.
Most memorable, but
What is your most memorable halftime show then?
The Left Shark.
The left shark. The left shark. Hey, don't get me wrong, Katy Perry, man. Hey, JT, Katy Perry, and we'll see what happens.
oh my gosh, this guy.
This guy. Hey, it's 12:39. We'll take a quick break, then we'll be back. You're listening to the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. And welcome back to the Matt Wallen Show. And it is time for everyone's favorite segment. Ike, tell me, what's going on?
What's going on?
Sound a little like Coldplay.
First things first. Former Thunder player, New York Knicks coach, Derek Fisher got fired today.
What's going on with that?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, they're not good. We know that. But
The Knicks.
at the same time, I was like, aren't they getting better? Aren't they starting to get a little bit more popular with Porzingis in the mixture and everything? But I guess, upper management, i.e. Phil Jackson. Phil Knight's Nike. He was just like, no, I don't want him anymore. So I don't know.
Here's my thing. I want Phil Jackson just to stop. Become the head coach already. We know that's what you want. You want to have control. You want to be the GM. You want to coach the team. Just do the whole thing. Name yourself head coach. Get it
I don't
over
know if
with.
he wants that. Yeah. I think he just kind of wants to sit back and be like, I'll help, but I want other people, because he is up there.
If he was the owner, this would be Jerry Jones all over again. Mm-hmm. He would be the Jerry Jones of the NBA if he was the owner.
Well, I mean, he could do like Pat Riley. I mean, still stay in management, but still kind of get his coaching methods to a specific coach. I don't think he has to have the title. I don't really think he wants the title to be head coach. I mean, I think he's good as president. So
the difference with Pat Riley is Pat Riley went and got the talent needed. And the Knicks have not been able to do that.
No, they
have Melo.
They have to build a little bit. I mean, I feel like they're going to start building around Porzingis now. It's just it takes.
So do you get rid of Melo?
No, I don't think so. Here's my take.
So you're telling me that they could win a world championship with Melo in New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it could take.
I
It's
disagree.
Gonna take a few years. I mean,
disagree
it's the
with
Eastern
that.
Conference. Porzingis. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him? He's 19. He could end up being really good.
I think Porzingis is going to be really good, but
Yeah.
I don't think you can win with Melo. That's just me.
Well, that's your opinion. I think Carmelo gets a bad rap sometimes, but I see where you're coming from. But here's my take on the Derek Fisher situation, guys. You can't really blame Derek Fisher for the Knicks' struggles when the guys you brought in to play point guard, you could argue Fisher could be playing for them right now. You know what I mean? I mean, who do they have starting at point now? Calderon? I mean, Fisher, we know he's a better defender than Calderon. I mean,
You want the Thunder to still sign Fisher.
Fisher would be better as a player for the Knicks than a coach. And until you get some talent for him, you can't really blame him for their failures. But it's just an interesting saga with Fisher in New York.
But he did, so he's gone. So right now, I think they said Kurt Rambis is going to be the interim head coach, which is also not really good. So sorry about that. Next is Marshawn Lynch retiring in the during the Super Bowl. I thought that was awesome. Because he was like, it's basically like me and a friend talked about it. He wanted to
Steal the spotlight.
No, not steal the spotlight. Get away from the spotlight, knowing that if I retire right now, the media isn't going to be knocking down my door because they're so ready
I
to
see what
prep
you're
for the
saying,
Super
yeah.
Bowl. They'll leave me alone, basically. I'm retired. I'm out. Congratulations on a great season.
That didn't stop Team Stream from still sending me an
Like
alert,
a million
though.
notifications?
Yeah.
But in the same sense, just like with interviews and, probably, he probably had phone calls. He probably had all types of stuff. But the main focus wasn't Marshawn Lynch is retiring. It was post-game Super Bowl. Because he did it around, I think I heard 8 minutes in the fourth quarter.
I wish he didn't
Right.
announce it. He would have been this would have just been low key. I'm retired. We discuss it with the organization. Organization doesn't say anything about it, and then training camp comes around and he's just not there. People are like, Where's Lynch? He
Yeah.
retired, guys. He did. You can't find him. He doesn't have to talk to you now.
I actually saw it being covered earlier in the morning. It was reports that he was probably going to retire, and then I guess they confirmed it during the Super Bowl. But I guess in the midst of all the Super Bowl covers, they're probably not going to talk about it. Which, I mean, to Ike's point, that's a pretty genius move. He doesn't want the media attention.
Next, Kevin Durant as a photographer. Did you guys see that last night? That's pretty cool. I thought it was cool. I wouldn't want to be in the stands with the fans and everything. I would love to be down on the field taking pictures and stuff. That was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't able to, but read the article that he put out on Players Tribune. I think it'd be interesting. I was trying to, couldn't get to load before the show, so something I will be interested in reading after the show. Be interesting to see his take on it.
Yeah, definitely. But one funny thing I was thinking of just now is how many lifetime photographers are like, seriously, I've been wanting to go to Super Bowl my whole life, and you give credentials to KD just because he's KD. I mean, not that he does the Players Tribune stuff. No, I'm not saying that, but that's just a funny thing to think about. That guy's like, dang it, that should be me.
I don't know the story behind it, but what happens if Kevin gets like, okay, I'm here, I might as well go to the game. Let me get a ticket. They go, Kevin, we're sold out. We don't have a ticket for you. We're sorry. And that was his final option.
He's just like, well, did I say just come as a fan? I meant come as a photographer for the Players Tribune. Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. We got room for you. Can you kick the guy that was supposed to be right there?
Somebody
He tell him he has
gets
to go, yeah. Sorry, your credential has been revoked.
He's like old. He's like, it's always been my dream to be a photographer.
I have
in the
been
Super
Mr.
Bowl.
Super Bowl since.
I was a Super Bowl one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I was back here when Lombardi was still coaching.
Eli Manning's face. What do you guys think about that? Is that a face of determined?
He just realized, man, we're tied now. I'm not the top dog at the dinner table on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
But I think that's a face of determination right there. I think
he's not going to win another one. McAdoo is not the right man to be the coach in New York. Giants aren't going to do anything.
No more Coughlin, no more defensive line.
Let me tell you right now, Dallas won't be in last place in the East next year.
Woo! That's always good. That's what I want to hear. Hey, we'll be the only team in the division outside of Washington without a new head coach. So, Eagles have a new coach. Giants have a new coach.
Does Washington get Cousins, though? Or is someone going to pay more money?
I don't know. But, hey, Dallas could be looking good. I mean, don't get me started. We'll see what happens.
It's a little early.
Let's see what happens in the draft. I'm just saying. We'll see.
We'll talk about that coming up. What else we got?
This is the last one for you. The Broncos receive a WWE Championship belt. I thought that was really cool. I think that's so cool. I hope that they do that for everybody, kind of, because having one of those replica belts in the Hall of Fame, Shrame or whatever they have in their stadium and their building and stuff. I think that's really cool. I'm a nerd about that, so I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Not really. Doesn't do anything for me, but
yeah, it's a pretty cool thing.
If you like WWE.
Yeah. Thanks, Ike.
Yeah, thanks. And that has been what, Ike?
What's going on?
Well, thank you, Ike. Just real quick, basketball this weekend. We'll talk college real quick, and then we'll take a quick break, finish it off with Thunder Gold State. If that impressed or depressed you, I have a feeling. But two top teams, North Carolina lost twice last week, and then Oklahoma lost in Manhattan to the Kansas State Wildcats. New polls just came out. I want you to think about this. Number 1, Villanova. Number 2, Maryland. Number 3, Oklahoma. Number 4, Iowa. Number 5, Xavier. Thoughts?
That's interesting.
Seems about right. Villanova should have went number 1, I think.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think they're a good team. I think they're young.
I knew for a fact that we weren't going to drop out of the top 5. I knew that. I said
there you go. There you go again with I knew we would not drop out.
I knew OU wasn't going to drop out of the top 5. I just knew because it's they still have a great they still have a great season. They're still a dominant team. They're probably going to be a number 1 team, number 1 seed in the tournament. So.
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me. I'll take it.
Take it. Okay. Well, we'll take a quick break, then we'll be back. You're listening to the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. right, it's 12:53. Welcome back to the program. Guys, Super Bowl, but we also had another big game that took place Saturday night. Thunder, Warriors, what were y'all's takes on it?
I think it's easy to be disappointed, but if you look at it, you know, there's no shame in losing by, 8 points at Oracle to the Warriors? I mean,
I agree, but would you rather win close, or would you rather get blown out and they realize that there's a problem?
I don't know. I think they're not going to look at one game and judge too much off of that. I think they know that there's a problem when KD and Russ are giving it all they got and putting up monster stat lines, and it's not enough. I think Presti and the front office, they know that. I would rather lose a close game, because then, you know, I almost feel like it's the opposite of you, Matt, because you're like, we're almost there. We just need like maybe one more piece, and we could compete with these guys in a 7-game series. You know? I
don't see that, though. I see that you have fundamental problems that need to be addressed.
I think
close.
they know that.
And you text me and want to do a trade show next week. I'm ready for that, because do they need, we discussed this before, do they need another piece?
I think they do.
I got one. I heard that Brooklyn was buying out Joe Johnson. That's interesting to me. I would look into that.
If they buy him out.
Yeah.
Because his contract is through the roof.
But does Johnson play defense?
Yeah, he's a two-way. He's a better two-way guard than most people like.
Who do you want? The name I heard this morning was Courtney Lee.
Everybody's throwing out Courtney Lee. One guy that I would really like to get from the Celtics would be Avery Bradley. I don't know how much you'd have to give away for him.
Offensive production, what's Bradley's numbers looking like?
Well, he just had a game. He had a game winner the other night. He shook somebody and shot a three-pointer. He had 25.
It was against Cleveland. I realize that, but
and then they had a 25-point game yesterday. So he can play. He can shoot the three, and he's a good defender. He's young, but you probably have to give up a decent amount.
That, and they're really dependent on Marcus, so they, you know, I don't know, they could trade up for trade Avery Bradley, and he is a great two-way player. That's what we ultimately like kind of need to look for. We don't really need to look for another scorer in a sense. We need to look at somebody who is good defensively and can score. Like Cephalosha, he wasn't the greatest scorer, and he was a good defender, but when he scored, you know? He could shoot a three. We didn't have to wait.
Yeah.
He could. Could.
You need someone
in the regular season.
You need someone to shoot a three in the clutch time, because you shot 31.8%, 7 for 22 from three.
Yeah.
Morrow was 0 for. Who else had a rough night?
Morrow didn't do his job.
Singler, but are you surprised? Payne was 1 for 3. And then Dion Waiters and Dion was 1 for 5. Dion needs to go back to being on the bench, because he's just not getting the shots with the starters.
No, he didn't. But you know what? I'm going to give him props for playing great defense, though. I thought he really did do well last night. Another player who did well off the bench, Cantor. Mm-hmm. We got to start playing him when we get into this series with him, because I guess I think
they learned something. Because notice, Cantor, the weakness with Cantor is when he's involved in the pick and roll. Mm-hmm. And they moved Durant onto Draymond Green. And Durant's a little bit better, or not a little, a whole lot better than Cantor at stopping that.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And yeah, Cantor, he proved that he could be maybe an X factor against those small lineups, getting rebounds.
Yeah, he had 14 points. 15 rebounds.
I mean,
good night for him.
How many minutes?
Only 20 minutes.
That's incredible.
If you think about it, Steven Adams had 33, Ibaka had 36. Between those, I think it needs to vary.
I agree.
I really do, because more Cantor, less of all them. Let's go a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Here's my thoughts going into the game. I know we're not going to ultimately stop Clay, Stephen, Harrison Barnes. But last night, we can't have Sean Livingston scoring the way he scored. Spades is going to get buckets. I understand that. But we also can't have him score the way he scored, too. That's like the second time Spades has really like kind of dominated our big man down low playing us. I remember last season, I think he dropped over 30 points on us. I'm like, we can't have that. I understand that they have some scores on their coming in the starting lineup, but off the bench, we got to kind of control their bench players, like Livingston and Spates. So
Let me ask you guys this: we only played nine guys on Saturday. Is that the playoff rotation, barring a trade?
It's a good comment. Yeah.
And then you have to figure in Roberson's going to come back.
Roberson
So who
will
do you
get
bump
in.
out? Hopefully not Morrow. Hopefully Singler if you have to bump anybody.
I like the staggered lineup between Durant and Westbrook. Always
I've
one of
always-
them was on the court.
I've always advocated that. I agree.
But the problem is you can't do it the full season. Save it for the playoffs. But when the playoffs come, I do like Donovan makes in-game adjustments.
Mhm.
Brooks never did it.
Yeah.
And once the playoffs happen, I really do think we'll see more of that.
I hope so. But at the same time, then you're saying, well, maybe for whatever reason it doesn't work out. Maybe it's good to test it out a little bit now.
Yeah,
and see
I
what
mean,
happens.
yeah. I see what you're saying there. Let's see. The Thunder had 17 points off the bench, and the Golden State, 25-17, so that's what?
25
42?
plus 17, 42.
Yeah, 42 points off their bench.
Compared to what do we have again?
17.
That's the game.
Yeah, it
That's the
really
game.
is.
I mean, Durant had 41, Westbrook had 30. I mean, that's the difference right there. That's the difference between those two teams.
And you think even Waiters, if you had Waiters who did start, but usually comes off the bench, he only had 4 points.
Yeah.
But like I said, in the sense of, or to back up Waiters, he did play really great defensively. Offensively, he wasn't on, but that's what, people like Morrow and Singler, that's what they should be able to do, come off the bench and kind of score once they're in. But I'm not going to put Dion down because he really did show what it is that we need to do defensively against these guys, and he tried, basically.
Can Oklahoma City win a 7-game series that go where Golden State has home court advantage?
Golden State has home court advantage. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say. I don't know. I personally don't think people like Serge. Like Serge is one of our.
Would you
problems.
trade Serge? We can say that for next week.
Only if it's like Surge for Cousins straight up. But
Like Serge for Blake straight up? I don't know.
Would you do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. I hate Serge's defensive game. He doesn't know how to close out. He jumps on every pump fake, and I'm like, Draymond is gonna every stretch four in the league is gonna destroy him if he does that. I don't like it.
let me say to your question, Matt, I think the Thunder could beat the Warriors in a 7-game series because they have nobody who can really match up with Durant. I mean, Draymond and Thompson, they can tag team and they do all right, but they don't have like a Kawhi Leonard or a LeBron James that's going to you really have to worry about with Durant. And you look at Durant's scoring average. I don't know if you guys knew this. He scores 30 points per game on average against the Warriors for his career. I mean, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
So if KD goes into beast mode and you got Westbrook doing his thing, I mean, who knows? It'll probably be a 6 or 7 game series, but we'll see.
Okay, I agree. I don't know if this year if they could win. We've gone over time, so we'll wrap up real quick. But I don't know if they can win right now. They don't play good enough defense.
Right.
Maybe if we see the defense that showed up in the second half, they might be able to.
Let's see if they make some trades to get better on defense after All-Star
Let's see.
break.
But real quick, before we go, props, guys. Who's your props for Super Bowl?
Everybody who has witnessed every Super Bowl. That's my props. I think that's really cool. Like they had some type of special on before, and they were just talking to numerous people who have watched from Super Bowl 1 all the way up to Super Bowl 50. So, yeah.
Mine kind of plays off that, the history of the game. I'm going to give props to the NFL for recognizing the former MVPs and the players from the Super Bowl teams before the game. I thought that was pretty cool.
Props, I'm going to say will be to, going name blank again, Elway for the shout out to Pat Bolden. Good
Sure.
for him. That was really good. Class thing to do. We'll be back Wednesday. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at @the_MW_show. Also, check out the blog at themattwallenshow.blogspot.com. Working on a website, we'll get there, but you can check out the show and much more there. We'll be back Wednesday. I don't know what we're talking about Wednesday. We'll find something.
We'll
to
figure
talk
something
about.
out.
The Real Deals are back.
The Real
It's been
Deal.
great to have them. Thanks for tuning in the show. We'll see you Wednesday, guys. You've been listening to The Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio.